You're listening to the Next Wave Radio Network.
Round 2, fight!
Can't we do our own secret shows?
All our shows are secret shows.
We have the tools, we have the talent.
You have to use so many cuss words.
Let's go.
Ooh, yeah!
It's a new year, 2026, but one of the things not joining us in this next decade or so
Maybe.
will be our one of our favorite, well, not in its last incarnation at least, but Stranger Things has been with us.
Well, there's a rumor that there's a like secret final episode that's supposed to air this weekend.
Oh, really? I do.
It's just a rumor, though.
Yeah, I hope they're reading the room and seeing like maybe we lay low on Stranger Things for at least another week. Because for the last 2 months, we collectively have just been bombarded with Stranger Things content. It was, I don't know about you, Joe, it was a struggle to kind of keep up. I did not watch episodes 5 through 7 on Christmas. I didn't really watch them until they were all released. I knocked them out over the weekend, the last 4.
Really?
Which is like 7 hours of content.
That's a lot of time. Yeah.
Yeah. It took a while.
Mm-hmm.
Want to discuss our kind of thoughts, how we feel about the show as a whole now that it's wrapped up, but also specifically this final season.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just get the elephant in the room out of the way first.
All right.
What did you think of the end?
The way it ended?
How did you feel about the wrap up?
I thought if we're talking about like the last 45 minutes, that super, what do they call that? Denouement?
Not the Return of the King. I'm talking about
just the story.
I'm just talking about the final episode. Like how
it's hard to talk about the final episode without talking about the season as a whole. And ultimately, I just feel like there's way too much going on.
Yeah.
There's way too much we're reintroducing. This is supposed to be the season, the last season. And then also, even in the season finale, we're introducing new concepts and locations and things where we should be winding down. This is getting a little overcomplicated. So I feel like at a high level, too many characters, not the direction I wanted the story to go. Felt like they just kind of had to keep raising. And this is the problem with these shows. Once the ceiling becomes the floor, as they say. So the stakes were raised so high in season 4 and 3 ahead of it.
It is the upside down.
Oh my God. The ceiling is the floor because it's the upside down. But that makes absolute sense. Holy shit. Fantastic. But yeah, it's like where we left the last season, like if a character was going to die, and then now 2 characters are in threat of dying. If the city was at threat, well, now the whole world is at threat. And without really kind of feeling like they earned that. Sometimes the story needs to stay small, and not that by any means this story was small to begin with. I just felt like, the Duffer Brothers seem to look at these seasons as their own little mini season. So I don't think they have it in them to not kind of expand the story, not tell a self-contained story. So I feel like them going into season 5, we're like, all right, we have to start from ground zero. What is the arc going to be for this season, instead of, hey, let's start wrapping up these threads. And then what happens is you got a 2.5-hour finale where the last 45 minutes is them wrapping up all these threads, having all these, I don't want to say needless, but maybe some of the post-credit scenes were stronger than others.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Okay, so when it comes to Stranger Things, I thought the end of it was fine. I liked the journey way more. Yeah. Like there's just the journey that we went on was the best part of it.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if it's because I wasn't eager to see it end, so it wasn't going to live up to whatever hype there was anyway. But it had to end, because like you were saying, like things kept escalating and escalating and escalating to the point where it's like, okay, we've got to eventually, we have to wrap this up. These kids are all like 40 now and they're supposed to be graduating high school. There are some characters that I felt like you said, like we introduced new characters, new things. We brought in Linda Hamilton for some reason.
Oh, she was
who
wasted.
Ultimately was wasted. Yeah, it was like at the end of everything, like she was just kind of a wasted deal. I thought that the Will coming out scene was so powerfully written and placed in the wrong part of the episode. Like, But the thing is, it's like, how much does that mean coming from me, a straight, white man who, like, that wasn't for me. So I understand. Like, that's that's not my representation, but I love that it's in there. So how can I dictate where it's supposed to be? But at the same time, as someone who likes a well-crafted story, I felt like that was not the place to put that. They put it in there because it's supposed to be he was afraid that Vecna was going to use that against him. Cool. Then from a story writing standpoint, give me that payoff then.
Right.
When Vecna tries to use it against him and it fails. Like we see the hearts of men pull through and like prove Vecna wrong. Like let me see that. Let me see the power of that friendship, the power of that love that makes it so, Will's people stuck with him. Don't just show me everyone doing a group hug, which was great, but let me see now the consequences of that. That like Vecna so sure that he was going to convince Will that people were going to turn away from him, that he's cocky and he tries to use it against him and it gets him shut the fuck down. Like, give me that satisfaction. And we didn't get that satisfaction.
Yeah, I think one of the problems is they've spent so much time setting up Vecna versus 11 that now here in the last 4 episodes of the entire series, we're saying, oh no, Will is also an equal adversary. So it's like, but then ultimately they don't focus on that, like you're saying. Yeah. It's back to Vecna and 11.
And that is a fault in the writing because there's a place for both. It could have been both. The fact that so much of this season centered around Holly Wheeler kind of bothered me.
That's what I'm saying.
And
it did and it didn't, because ultimately she was such a great actress and a fun character.
She's so good.
And
we got Derek, delightful Derek.
Dipshit Derek, yeah. So there, as much as we complain about, they're introducing too many different characters, but we always kind of fall in love with the characters generally, from Eddie to even in a way Billy.
Maya. Or not Maya. What's her name in the
Maya
show?
Hawke. I can't think of her name, and then also Lucas's sister. End up being lovable, and you want to see more of them. And the same thing with Holly. But for them to not introduce it like the one character, but then this whole thing that we need 12 kids, so now we got 12 other kids.
Yeah,
they never really earned it or explained why.
Why? Yeah, why do you need that many kids?
There's usually an answer behind these things that they introduce, but I feel like a lot of this season was just like, and then this happens, and don't worry about it. It just is.
Yeah. Yeah. Reintroducing Kali, I thought was, I don't know. Like, I felt like we wasted time on things we didn't need to waste time on. Wasted time on characters we didn't need to waste time on. Yeah. I love that we finally get to this final confrontation where everybody is like doing their best to take down the Mind Flayer, and fucking Hopper is just like hanging out. He doesn't get to be part of that at all.
Murray.
Him and Murray are just like twiddling their fucking thumbs on a rooftop, and it's like, okay,
waiting for Prince's record to end. By the way, that reminds me. You talked about. I went into the last 4 episodes with fresh in my mind your comments about the '80s music and the needle drops that they've been using throughout the series, and then really kind of analyzing, like, all right, how much of this is part of this? How much did it need to be this song, or how much are they using the song as part of the story versus just kind of throwing it in there? And I gotta say, the last couple of episodes, they sure did use a lot of needle drops.
Yeah,
and not all of them hit.
Yeah, thank you. So Fonzie, what you're trying to say is
no. I mean, I liked how they used. No. I liked how they used the Prince record, and I loved how they used Heroes at the end. That credit sequence.
Yes. I thought the use of Heroes was fantastic.
That whole post-credit sequence.
It was so good.
It being in the player's manual. And it's the story of Stranger Things, and the way go back and watch it again if you haven't. But the way they broke that down is brilliant. I was even kind of reading some of the descriptions and paragraphs around each of the characters they would illustrate and show. Mm-hmm. So cleverly done, and just pitch perfect way to end that series.
Well, and it also made me think of, and it wasn't exactly the same thing, but it also made me think of like the final credits of Return of the King, when they finally did like the illustrations of all of the characters.
Good call.
And maybe even also the end of Endgame, where they did like the final credits for the core Avengers.
Oh yeah,
where we got to see like
their
thing, like their signature and who they were, and like their weapon or whatever. So I thought that was cool.
It's a nice way to honor the series as a whole.
Look, I like Stranger Things. Stranger Things made me feel seen as a white
Hell yeah, dude.
D&D playing, video game playing, comic book collecting, bike riding into the woods nerd. Like, it made me feel seen. It made me feel like I wasn't alone in some of the things that I experienced in my childhood. That, like, what I experienced and the adventures I hoped to look for were something that other people also identified with. So that was super cool. One of the things I love, one of the memes that came out, it was like if Vecna had met Lucas's sister, and it was like Vecna going, "I can see your fears," and she responds and goes, "Bitch, you should see a mirror because you look a mess."
That's exactly what she would have said.
It is. I thought that Stranger Things did so much for sci-fi, and like it was made for Gen X. It is clearly made for Gen Xers like us, and speaks to the things that we loved, and that's why I'm sad to see it go, because it's like there's clearly a difference between something like this and like Big Bang Theory that artificially tries to reach for the things that nerds like,
Right.
with like stupid name drops, but not understanding what those name drops mean, not understanding what the content is, and then Stranger Things embodying that. My problem with Stranger Things, though, with the way they ended it, was just it's hard to stick a landing. I understand that. It's so hard to stick a landing, especially after so much of the journey has been great. But there are things that are like, man, we really should have dedicated a little bit more time to that. You cannot just introduce a concept of, oh, the Upside Down is actually a wormhole that leads to another place called the Abyss.
This is what I'm
Okay,
saying.
great. Like,
in the last hour of the series.
maybe we needed another season.
Yes.
We need another season. Like, what else is in the Abyss? For a show that, like, you know, we started off in, like, the Upside Down. Remember, like, the air in the Upside Down used to be toxic?
Yeah.
And now everybody's just riding bikes and hanging out in the Upside Down.
Or it just goes away completely.
Remember when you went to the Upside Down and you would go, like, you'd get attacked by bats? Where the fuck did those go? Like, and none of those were like, okay, cool. They weren't in the Upside Down, but none of those things were in the Abyss either. Like, there were none of those things
it's an
there.
abyss.
All that was there was them slowly walking to an Upside Down mind flayer that, like, you clearly knew was going to be the mind flayer when they got closer to it. And
It did already look like that, yeah.
yeah, and that's fine. I guess I kind of wanted more of a reason for 8 million of them to have to go into the Abyss, because otherwise it could have just been like Mike and 11,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Usually they're
I
pretty
just-
good about breaking them up into teams, and this team is tackling this part of the problem.
Yeah.
They seem simultaneously, you know, they've got like a pincher move where this team is doing this part on the inside, and the other one's on the outside, supporting them somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had like 5 different teams going on, and not all of them really kind of felt important. And at a certain point, there just gets to be too much that you're asking the audience to keep in track. Like, okay, are we currently inside Vecna's mind in this scene? No.
Yeah.
Okay, are we in the Upside Down? Are we in the Abyss? Are we in the real world? And there always isn't a great delineation to help guide the viewer along.
And I guess I needed a clearer definition of like the rules. Okay, so we're in Vecna's mind,
Yeah.
and Holly's trying to like lead the kids to get to a portal to get out of Vecna's mind, yet Derek is still getting exhausted running. And I'm like, oh, if you know you're not physically in, like, this is not your physical body, you should just be able to move.
Look,
right?
he's not going to turn into Neo from the Matrix all of a sudden. Like, he's not going to be able to fly immediately. He's still
I don't want him to
feels
fly,
tired,
but
though.
at the same, like he's like huffing and puffing. And I turned and looked at Sarah. Went, this poor motherfucker gets gassed even when he's not actually running.
You think that's air you're breathing?
I think I may be in the minority here. I loved that when they tried to like pull the whole, you know, see, the Mind Flayer didn't want you to experience this, you know, Henry, because then he would have known, like, you've been controlled the whole time. And I love that
Yeah.
Henry was like, no, man, you know, that like we're not redeeming Vecna. We're not redeeming Henry Creel here. And I'm glad they didn't go that route.
But if they're not doing that, then why even introduce that at all? Because like, I felt like they felt like they needed an emperor to his Darth Vader, but he already was the emperor to the Mind Flayer's Darth Vader. If you look at it that
Well,
way.
there's also this, like,
More like the Rancor.
it was like Henry can't come in the cave until Henry comes in the cave. Like, it was like,
Yeah. He's too afraid. He's not going to follow us there, but then he does.
are you telling me for 2 years he just didn't want to like just come in that cave to get Max?
Yeah. And then when they
What?
finally pay off why, it didn't seem. So now, ultimately, here we are in the last hour of the entire series, and we're learning it's what is a space rock that caused all this. There's a space rock. I
Call it space metal. Yeah.
But it was in a suitcase, a metal suitcase that some mysterious guy.
Yeah.
And then one just found it. So we went from, in season 1, it was all about Elle was part of the experiments to infiltrate the Russians and using remote viewing. All right, fine. And then it turns out there's this upside down. So they kept adding things onto the lore every time, but I kind of feel like they went too far with it. And I'm not. I don't want to say that they should have ended it after season 4 because, like you said, the story wasn't what we wanted it to be, but the journey, the way they tell the story was always, top notch filmmaking. I don't even want to call it television. This is filmmaking at this point.
Yeah.
And now looking back, when I heard that, season 4 was supposed to be the last one, but they ended up stretching it, and Netflix wanted another season out of them, so they figured out how to make 2 seasons out of it. I'm kind of wishing maybe that hadn't happened now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that. I'm glad we got a little bit more, but I do feel like it's hard to say this too, because it's like these kids are doing nothing but getting older, and they look like they're getting older. But they needed more time to get that mapped out, and I think what we got was the best that they could do under a rush timetable.
Yes.
And it's fine.
You think it was a timeline thing because the kids were getting too old?
Yeah, I think we're dealing with the kids getting too old. I mean, look at the best example is fucking Mike and Will, especially, are like fucking giants now. Like they're giants.
Yes.
And the fact that
I hear you.
11 Millie Bobby Brown is getting like sexualized constantly everywhere she goes online, and it's so tough to watch.
I'm worried for Holly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, dude, somebody already was talking about the person who drew the stuff in the end credits. Like somebody had commented on their post or whatever and was like the DSLs, and they liked it. And there was this whole thing does he know what he just liked? Like, what's going on? And it's like, dude, how are you going to say that about this girl, a preteen girl? Get out of town.
She was fantastic though, but
So good. All these actors are so good. And
child actors too. They're really good at directing child actors.
They're very good at directing child actors and developing them into good adult actors. I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, the character arc that I loved the most was Steve Harrington. I love that we didn't lose Steve. His character seemed solid from beginning to end. I'm glad they never killed him off.
I did feel like the conflict between he and Dustin was a little bit manufactured, though. I never really felt like that knockout fight they got in was earned. It felt artificial.
I agree and I disagree. I think that there's a part of Steve that feels bad for Dustin, but also is pissed off that that Dustin has put Eddie on a pedestal,
right.
the pedestal that he has, because he could have gotten Dustin killed too by doing what he did.
I get that.
And so I think that there's a little bit of that. I think there's some jealousy because, he feels like Dustin has put Eddie on this pedestal and is like, hey, man, so I can see some of that. But at the same time, again, it's kind of like Will coming out, the timing of it. The timing of it seems suspect. And that's what happens when we don't fully develop a script before we start producing it, is well, we got to put this in here somewhere. Let's have them fight about this while the building is melting all around them.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
and that's also just the when you start adding so many characters and subplots, you're causing these problems for yourself. So
yeah,
in a way, they only have themselves to blame by
yes.
creating this spaghetti noodle type of plot that we have to figure out. You need I need a vision board to figure out all the connections of where everybody is at any given time.
What's going on here? And here we are, guys, just in case, we're picking it apart. We're being overly critical because this is the time to do it. Yeah. I think Joel would agree with me. We enjoyed it. This is better than most anything else that you could watch right now. It was well worth the time that we spent watching it. These are just our little criticisms or things that we would have maybe changed or done differently. It's our advantage of Monday morning quarterbacking it.
Of course. And I'll tell you one of the things I will miss. Nicely said, Joe. Thank you. Yes, we pick on it because we love it. We wanted it to be everything we could imagine. It was never going to live up to everyone's expectations. But
Sure.
I will miss having a scene. I'd tell you what the Duffer Brothers are great at. I'd love to see a YouTube compilation. If there isn't one, maybe I'll edit one. Where, anytime there's a overly complex idea that they're trying to illustrate, but they do it with like visual metaphor, like they are just the fucking best at that. And every season there's at least one scene where somebody is explaining this high concept thing, but they're using the instruments around, the things in the room around them. Robin does it with the records when she's talking about, their souls leaving their body. She takes the records out of the sleeves and she says their bodies are here, boom, but their minds are here. That's a great visual metaphor for that. And they're so good at doing that. And I will miss that. I don't know who does that better.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody does.
Maybe it helps that they're always using the items from our childhood, though, to illustrate their ideas.
That's true.
I think maybe that's where I'm getting a little more emotional about it.
Is 11 dead?
Okay, so
the look on Joel's face when I asked that.
Jesus. Well, the last time we talked about this, it was like, oh, I hope they don't just try to kill everybody because they can kill anybody now, and it not that it mean nothing, but there are no consequences really for the next season because there won't be one. So I was worried that they were just going to start body piling left and right. So I'm glad that they didn't do that. I was even going to give them taking Elle away from us because it's like, okay, does it work for her character? Maybe not. Does it work? Is it a satisfying end to her story? No. Is it earned? Maybe not. But I love the kind of mysterious open-endedness of a fantastical story like this. So I would have been okay with like, all right, for there to feel like there was something lost for this big gain, I'll if they're not going to kill her, let's leave it ambiguous and she just take it away. Fine. But then when they tried to retcon that at the end during the D&D scene with Mike saying that, well, maybe she could, he's feels like he has this other information. And the way it comes about was through, using 8. What's her name? Kali? Using 8 as kind of this deus ex machina where, not only did she use her powers to prevent this, she also used her powers to, so it was getting a little Bill and Ted for me. It's unsatisfying when at the end of the story, we don't know the end of the story.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, and it's kind of how Stephen King ended The Dark Tower.
Oh, yeah.
Where like we finally get an ending and then he wrote another chapter and at the beginning of the chapter he says, okay, reader, like this is another way it could have ended. Pick which one you prefer.
So it's like Clue.
And it's like, well, you tell me. Tell me how the story ends.
I want to know.
And that's kind of how I felt about what happened with 11. Like, okay, great. Like, that's another way. Like, you don't have to coddle me, Mike Wheeler. Just tell me what happened. Just let me know what happened in the story.
I will say, I think ending it in the basement, like when they were at the graduation and he gets invited to the party and he's like, no, I got a better idea what we could do. I knew exactly where they were going. And I was like, yes, this is the pitch perfect way to end this series right where it began, doing the exact same thing. And even how they kind of like pass the torch as they're leaving the basement and Holly and her friends run down. And the way Mike looks back, I love that. I got chills. Look,
yes.
I may shit on parts of I didn't like, but I cried 3 times throughout the finale because I love these characters. I miss them. I missed them and I will miss them.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I'm going to just throw a little bit of criticism real quick. I didn't mention it. I meant to mention it earlier. Radio does not work the way that they made it look like in Stranger Things. That is not the way radio works. And the fact that she said shit on the air.
I caught that too.
She would have gotten fined and they probably would have lost
their
license.
Exactly.
That's all.
Thought about that too. Okay.
You got a heart out.
I do have a heart out here. But yeah, just to say, fantastic. What a triumph this series has been. It deserves all the lauds and the praise that it's gotten and will continue to get. And
agreed.
Kudos. Way to go out on top.
Kudos.
All right. Thanks for sticking with us another episode. Happy New Year. And tune in for our next episode where we'll be talking about what, Joe? What are we doing next week?
I don't know. More masturbatory Steam games.
Yeah, there you go. Fun stuff. No, we've got a lot of different topics coming up this year. Best animated films, music and video games. Again, we're going to be doing a really music-themed episode.
We talk a little bit more K-pop Demon Hunters. They just won the Critics' Choice Award.
I saw that. So we're not done with K-pop in 2026. A little Magic the Gathering, too, coming up on a future episode. So stick with us. Subscribe, lowreshighDef.com, or we're also on YouTube now. You can find us there, Low Res High Def. I don't know how to wrap. You want to wrap it up, Joe?
Thanks for listening.
There you go. Well, thanks
You
for.
were almost there.
I was almost there. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
You've been listening to the Next Wave Radio Network.
That's fucking gold.